In this episode, we finally move out of our motorhome and inside to our newly remodeled home. It was far from a smooth process. Hi, I'm Dave Atkinson, and welcome to Life on the Straight. This 30th installment in the Epic Remodel series will skip the chronological convention that I've been sticking to in order to lay out the main problem we came upon and see the resolution through to completion. On Monday, October 5th, the fumes from the hardwood floor finish had mostly gone away, and we opened up all of our doors and windows in order to air out the house. Amy and I had moved a few boxes from the barn back into the house. The photo shows some of our dishes that we moved into a kitchen cabinet. Of course, we first needed to clean the dust and debris of construction from everything, a task we began a week or so earlier. On the 10th, we held an open house for our neighbors. Our neighborhood had been under siege for 13 months, with construction noise and delivery trucks coming and going, so we wanted to let everyone see what the final outcome looked like. Amy had smelled the distinct odor of propane before the open house, and after everyone had gone home, a tech from the propane company came over and with a gauge confirmed that there was indeed a leak. He pulled the range out and discovered that a wrong part was used to connect the propane line to the range, so he returned to his home base, found the correct part, and returned to change it out. And that did the trick. No smell of propane since. The next day we hired 3 young people with strong backs to help us move everything from the barn back into the house. The one thing that they were unable to move was Amy's huge and heavy armoire. Frank and his muscular worker John came back later and moved it for us. The 11th was our first night back in the house. It was nice to be able to shower in our spacious wet room with heated tiles, as the shower in our motorhome was relatively small. 2 days later, when we went into the basement for something, we noticed a large pool of water below the bathrooms. What we later found out was that in the master shower, the pressurized water goes to the hot-cold valve, and there's a little selector lever where you can send it to the handheld wand or the fixed shower head. When the handheld wand is selected, the water goes through the wall to another valve that connects to the wand's flexible tubing. That in-wall portion of pipe isn't under pressure until you decide to use the wand. So that's why there was no water leakage until we took our first shower using the wand. When Frank installed the towel rack on the wall that is on the back side of the shower wall, one of the screws punctured the pipe that leads to the wand valve. I'm not sure what happened, as he had blocking put in before the sheetrock went up, but it was a snafu and it was a mess. Over the next week, the sheetrock had to be removed, the tubing between the valves replaced, and then the painter had to return to apply texture and later new paint. They did the repair well. You can't tell that there had been a problem. On October 20th, we hired Highland Olympic to clean all of our windows inside and out, including the sunroom. They had a special rate for post-construction cleanup, as it was a harder job than normal window washing. Home sweet home in our newly remodeled house, you would think. Alas, it was not to be, and it all began the first night we spent back inside. The Electrolux column fridge and freezer units, while certainly sharp looking, were also extremely noisy, primarily the freezer, which would never seem to turn off. With our bedroom's entrance now right across the great room, and given the fact that we sleep with the door open so our cats can come and go, Amy, who is very sensitive to noise, could not go to sleep. In fact, it was so loud that we ended up emptying the freezer contents into our other freezers in the garage and turning the darn thing off so she could sleep. Luckily, we had kept our old fridge freezer unit, and years earlier we had bought a chest freezer as well. At At first, we suspected that the freezer had been damaged, as the internal shelves never precisely aligned like they did in the fridge when we first assembled it. A follow-up call by an appliance technician confirmed that the U-shaped box of the freezer was not square. It must have taken a hit during shipping somewhere along the line. He turned in a replacement order to Electrolux, but here things took a turn for the worse. If you remember, we purchased all of our appliances as part of a Black Friday sale almost a year earlier, and since that time, Electrolux changed the design of the units. Since the fridge worked okay, our replacement would be a newer freezer that wouldn't look like the fridge and also wouldn't work with the trim pieces that tied the two units together. Instead of sending a replacement unit, on November 4th, Electrolux just cut us a check for what we paid during the Black Friday sale, and they didn't even reimburse us for sales tax. We would have to take that up with Home Depot. In order to find a new, quote-unquote, old model of the freezer, we went to an appliance store in Silverdale who found such a unit in Canada. The price certainly wasn't a Black Friday deal, plus we had to pay for shipping, but the replacement finally arrived at our house and was installed. This time, all of the internal shelves fit perfectly. Unfortunately, it was as loud as the original damaged freezer. We had to pay the appliance store a restocking fee, plus more shipping, to take it back. Now what? The Electrolux units, while spacious, were not all that deep. Whatever we replaced it with had to end up being roughly the same depth in order for my wheelchair to clear the end of the island while accessing it. We found such a counter-depth fridge-freezer unit by KitchenAid, which would perfectly match all of our other appliances. Plus it had an indoor water and ice dispenser, which was lacking on the Electrolux unit. And had that delivered on December 16th. It would sit inside the cavernous fridge-freezer opening for several more months until we had new cabinets built. And it was quiet. When Electrolux reimbursed us for the damaged freezer, they told us that we'd have to dispose of the old unit or keep it, our choice, and at our cost. We ended up giving it to Frank in exchange for his muscling of the old fridge and trim package into the garage while we figured out what to do with them. And wouldn't you know it, Home Depot completely stepped up and made us whole again. They took back the fridge and trim package and even picked it up at our house, as well as reimbursed us the sales tax for the freezer unit that Electrolux wouldn't reimburse us for. It was an assistant manager in a Squim store who helped us, and we ended up writing a nice letter about her help and sent it off to the corporate offices. To make that fridge wall complete, we would first have to take down the fridge enclosure cabinet panels. Then we would have Jeff Howitt build us new cabinets. An upper cabinet would go above the fridge freezer, while the combination upper-lower with a countertop would sit to the right of the fridge freezer. It turned out that Olympic Peninsula Stone, who installed our original quartz countertops, had a leftover piece from the same batch of quartz that would fit our needs for both countertop and backsplash, so we purchased it right away to save it from someone else buying it. In mid-March, Lincoln came over to wire up some outlets for the new counter space, and we figured that our toaster would go there. On April 20th, the same guy that installed our cabinets came over to remove the old fridge freezer enclosure, and we also gave Jeff a deposit for the new cabinets. On June 1st, the guy who installed all of our tile came over to modify some of the kitchen tile around where the new cabinet would go. The old enclosure didn't recess back like the bottoms of the new cabinets would, and this left a gap in the tile that needed to be filled. On June 23rd and 24th, the new cabinets were installed. Finally, in early August, our new countertop with backsplash was installed. 10 months after we moved back in, the kitchen mini remodel was completed. Our final house remodel item was addressed on November 14th of 2021 when Lincoln fabricated a cord to connect to our new Furman generator which we bought from Costco a month earlier. We switched off power from the utility company in order to test the generator. It was big enough to power everything in the well house, both of our fridge freezer units, our chest freezer, the fireplace fan, the TV and router, most of the house lights, the range ventilation fan, and even the microwave once the fridge freezers had stopped running. While under stress, Lincoln checked the basement panels and changed out a few breakers from one leg to the other to better balance out the load. We now had a backup solution for those times when the power goes out for a day or more, and we knew how to move from utility to generator and back to utility power. As we finally wrap up the house portion of our Epic Remodel project, I'll leave you with some before and after photos. Next time, we head outdoors to start another big project, the rockery replacement plus center island wall. Thank you for watching Life on the Straight, and if you'd like to follow this story as it unfolds, please consider subscribing, which is free.